Hello friends, welcome to this video. Now, after understanding the various mechanisms of protecting the Excel file, Excel workbook, Excel sheet, and also the Excel cells, now from this video, I'll be starting another topic which is known as macros. This macros topic is divided into two parts. So in this video, I'll be discussing about what is macros, why we are creating the macros, and what are the theoretical steps of creating a macro. Then in the next video, I'll be showing you the practical part of creating a macro. So let us start with this important topic known as macros. So first of all, we'll understand what is a macro. So it says that a macro is an action or a set of actions that you can run as many times as you want. So see, in case of Excel, many times what we are doing that we are trying to do the same process again and again. Let us take an example that I'm having a sales sheet, and in the sales sheet I'm doing some calculations. Now every month I'm getting a new sales sheet and I'm doing the same process in the other sales sheets also. So what happens that if I'm doing the same process again and again, then definitely we are humans, so we are bound to get tired. First of all, it is a tiring process, and plus it is also very boring process. So that's why what we can do that if we are having a repetitive task, then the best solution would be to create a macro. And then once we record the macro, we record all the steps that we are performing in one particular sheet or one particular Excel file. Then we can run that macro in the other file and the work will be done in few seconds or in few minutes. So that's why this macro is one of the most important topic in Microsoft Excel. So here it says that macro is an action or a set of actions that you can run as many times as you want. So normally we try to record the macro with many actions or many steps, and then we try to run that macro as many times as we want. Then here it says if you have tasks in MS Excel that you do repeatedly, we can record a macro to automate those tasks. So that is what I said earlier, that whenever you are having a repetitive task and you are doing it every month or every week or every fortnight, then definitely you can record a macro and you can automate those tasks. Now we'll see more about the macros. So here it says when we create a macro, we are recording our mouse clicks and keystrokes. Now see, I'll be showing you in the practical part in the next video. So whenever we are recording a macro, then even if we are moving the mouse, if we are clicking the mouse, if we are typing something on our keyboard, everything is recorded. It is just like that when we are recording a normal video. So whatever the background noise we are having, any person who is coming in the background of that video, definitely will be able to hear those voices and will be able to see those people. So likewise here also when we are recording a macro, it is recording everything. The mouse clicks, the keystrokes, everything it is recorded. So that's why we have to be little bit particular while recording the macro. Then the next one, it says that after we create a macro, we can edit it to make minor changes to the way it works. So suppose if I have recorded a macro, now I'm having a feeling that, okay, I've missed some step or I want to edit some steps. So definitely it is possible, but for editing purpose, we should know the Visual Basic, because in Visual Basic, we can modify those steps. So if you are very good in Visual Basic, then definitely you can go for those changes in that macros. But what I'll suggest you that if you don't know what is Visual Basic, if you don't know anything about Visual Basic, then I would suggest you that you do not learn that Visual Basic programming. The reason is this, that nowadays very few people are using Visual Basic. So I would not suggest you to learn a tool which is already obsolete. Rather than if you are learning, let's say Python programming, it is much better. So I would suggest you that if you want to do some changes in the macros, if you can do those modification on your own, by knowing that Visual Basic, that is fine. Otherwise, I would suggest you that if you are having any changes in the macros, then you can delete that macro and again recreate that macro. So that will be much faster rather than learning a new language. The third point says that macro saves lot of our time while working with the MS Excel data. So definitely see, when we record a macro and then we are running the macro every time, so we are saving lot of time. Yeah, we are doing that repetitive task again and again, and we are saving our time. Next point says that macros can have 50 steps or 100 steps or more. Now see, many times when I'm conducting the trainings, the participants are asking me questions that, okay, Samir, how many steps I can record in a macro? So as such, we don't have any kind of numbers, a fixed number by which I can say, okay, you can record only this many number of steps. In macros, you can record one step also, you can record 10 steps also, you can record 50 steps, 100 steps and more also. So it all depends upon your use case, that how many steps you are having. The last point is very important here. Before creating macros, we have to be clear about what steps we would like to perform in a sequence. So say, suppose if I'm having, let's say if I want to create a macro with 50 steps. I'll not be able to remember those 50 steps while recording that macro. So what is the best method over here? That you can write down those steps either on a piece of paper, or you can write down on, let's say, a notepad or something like that, and then one by one you perform those steps. So that what happens, that see, suppose if you miss some step, and suppose if you delete one step and then if you perform any other step, that deletion of the step is also recorded. So instead of 50 steps, you may have 51 steps. So that's why my best suggestion would be that you write down all those steps in a sequence, because you'll be performing those steps one by one, and then perform those steps and record those steps in a macro, and then it will be very, very helpful. And plus, you'll also not take that much of time in recording the macro. So writing those steps is very, very important here. If you are having more number of steps, if let's say if you are having 10 steps, then definitely you can remember those 10 to 15 steps very well. Now we go to the last slide over here, that is naming a macro. Now see, when we'll see in the practical part that when we record the macro, before we record the macro, we have to give some name to the macro. By default, Excel will give the name macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, macro 4. If we are creating only one macro, that is fine. But suppose if I'm creating one by one 10 macros, then if the names are macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we'll be not knowing that, okay, this macro I've created for what purpose. So that's why what we can do here, that we can give a proper name to that macro. So while naming the macro, we have to follow some rules. So here it says macro name cannot begin with a number and should not contain spaces. So sometimes see, our macro name can be long enough. Whenever we are writing a long name, then whatever the gap that we are having between the names, in that gap we should not use any spaces. So suppose if my macro name is, let's say, formatting cells. So formatting is one word, cells is another word. So between the formatting and cells, I cannot keep a space. What I have to do, either I have to put underscore or I have to put hyphen or dash. So that is what you have to remember. And plus another thing is that whenever you are writing the macro name, it should not start with any number. It should always start with a text. And then later on, if you want to write some number, that is fine. Macro can have a long name, as I mentioned earlier, that you can write down a long name. Naming can be based on what things we want to accomplish with macro. Whenever we are giving the name to the macro, we have to write down the name in such a manner that when I see the name of the macro, I'm able to get some information out of it. So then it will be very easy for us to know that, okay, this macro I've created for this purpose. So that's why the naming has to be given accordingly. So here we are ending up this short presentation on macros. Now in the next video, I'll be showing you the practical part of creating a macro. So please watch out that next video also. Thank you very much.